Because you can have all the talent in the world. We mention it time and time again. But you got to roll your sleeves up. And when the game gets a bit tight, or there's moments you go, I'm going to do my bit for the team. And there's too many players like Dallo who just don't do enough. I won't use the word cheating, but they're just not doing enough. And after the game, I'd be looking at him. I wouldn't be looking at the other bits of the game. I'm saying, are you going to stop it? Same for the first goal. Players, when Rodgers gets the ball wide in the first goal, we're all sitting there. We know there's danger. Do they not know there's danger?
United have just picked up 1 point in out of 6 in 2 games, but I'm actually quite energised by what I've seen. And I think that goes to show I do feel performance really matters in football, and I think the way in which you play really matters. And I said I could come off that game against Bournemouth on Monday where there was some really bad goals conceded, but I can live with watching that all day long, where there's a real sort of purpose going forward, and there's a real threat, and there's a real sort of, if you like, entertainment and style to the game. Similarly here today, I thought they were very good, Manchester United. I thought it was a really good performance, but the details of the 2 goals have cost them. Now that's going to continue to happen whilst they don't have the likes of Maguire and De Ligt, and they don't have players, to be fair, that would make them a lot stronger. I don't think they're anywhere near good enough to get into that top 3. But what I have seen in these last 2 games are a couple of things. One, the manager has changed. Quite obviously, the system that he said he would never change, the 5 or the 3, the 2 in midfield, the 2 wing backs, and the 3 up front, the 1 up top, and then the 2 narrow forwards. That has been thrown out of the window in the last 2 matches. We've seen that change. That's a good thing. He's still playing principally with some of the same sort of what would be patterns that Manchester United played with under him, but very differently today. He had Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount in front of Agate, and he pushed Dallo on further on that side, and he had Cunha and Sesko. The other night was very different again, with Ahmad playing higher up and Euro out as a right back, and it looked like a 4-4-2 at the end. So I'm happy that the manager is adapting to what's happening out there because of what's happening with AFCON, but also I think there's just an element of, I don't think he could carry on as we saw against West Ham and Everton at home. More of that West Ham and Everton is going to find the manager in a lot of trouble. More of what we've seen between Bournemouth and Villa is going to find the manager in a job, and to be fair, allowed to build something, because you can build off what you've seen here today. I thought the first half, they were by far the better team. I thought they really were good, and actually surprisingly, I thought they were actually, with Martinez in midfield in the second half, I actually thought they were the equal of Villa as a minute.
I don't know how much of this he's going to miss, but it came off with a soft tissue injury, and he said it's going to be a little while. But they've also got players who are going to be away with the Africa Cup of Nations. That could go. I mean, some like Mbermo, Mazraoui, Ahmad, and they potentially could get, if they get to the final, they'll be missing right up to the Manchester City game. So that's the length of time they could be away. So that plus another injury, plus players who are already missing out, means that they're kind of stretched a little bit. And then if you've got Kobbie Mainoo on the fringes with everything that's going on with him, and then he misses out on the squad today with a late calf injury, it's starting to look a little stretched for Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, I think it is. And, you look at Bruno now missing for we don't know how long. He's been the best player for Manchester United for years now. If he's now out for 4, 5, 6 games, it's going to get even tougher. And like I say, the players that are going away to the African Cup of Nations as well. Now you start looking at the squad, and you're relying on maybe the youngsters that come on today. They've got no experience. Of course, they need to get that experience, but where Manchester United are at as a club, you need to get wins on the board. And the next few games that they've got coming up, of course, Newcastle at home is going to be a tough game. I think we saw that they've got Wolves, they've got Burnley. No disrespect to them teams there, but they're games that they should be winning. But when you're looking at your squad now and you're thinking, well, have I got the players to adjust and be in their positions? It is going to be tough. And, you've got to get straight back on the training pitch now and work on. Like Roy was saying, we said it before the game. Going forward, they've got players that can create chances and create something out of nothing. It's the opposite side. It's working hard. It's the intensity. It's the defending. And, we saw that on the 2 goals. We've been through it. Len Yoro could get out to the first one after Morgan Rodgers' touch. You start to know players. You should know players. He's going to come back on inside on his right foot. And if you give him that much space and time, he could put the ball in the top corner like he did. The second goal is the same thing. It's Tielemans out there. You want to show him back up the pitch instead of letting him get a cross in. You're thinking, oh, maybe the cross won't amount to nothing, but it actually does. And, Ollie Watkins is on his front foot instead of Haven. Rodgers gets a touch, he scores, and that wins the game. So it's the details of not when you're in possession, when you're out of possession, and the intensity and the work rate that you have to put in. And if you're not putting that in, you'll get punished like you did today.
FC should listen to the fan suggestions.
But they're in there, you know, as he just said, they've beaten Man City and they've beaten Arsenal this season. I think their next 6 games are difficult. And when the fixtures come up there, 6 difficult games, you get rid of them and all of a sudden there's 15 games or so left. If you're up there, then you've got to, because these games soon fly by. You know, they soon go bang, wallop, crash before you know it. We were talking earlier with Roy, you know, Leicester. You know, no, Leicester can't win it. Leicester can't win it. And another game goes and another game goes and another game goes. They've got to keep on working. I can't keep on giving goals away. Give a terrible goal away at West Ham. Give a terrible goal away again today. You've got to cut them out because you can't keep on relying on magic to get you out of trouble every week. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it might be the odd goal. Yeah, they've got to tighten up at the back. But for me, watching today, they weren't great, but they scored 2 goals. I think they're in it. I think they deserve to be challengers. I know their squad ain't the biggest, but if they keep all these players fit, and they pick and choose. But I think if it gets down to coming, I think he'd rather win the Europa Conference. I really do. I think it's probably, I would say
than win the.
I don't think he wins the Premier League. I think they'll be around. But I still think, looking at the fixtures they got coming up, I think it'd still be easier for them to get into the Champions League by the Europa Conference than what it will the top.
The dressing room go, oh, well done, and they're like, they're exhausted, they're tired. I bet they were like, it's not so bad playing against United. When United out of possession, they're probably one of the worst teams in the league. In possession, of course, they're good. There's a threat. They could have scored 2 or 3 goals today. But unfortunately, part of being a footballer, particularly if you want to be a top footballer, is what you do out of possession. Everyone wants to talk about what you do in possession, what you do on the other side of it. And Man United cut corners and they take too many risks, and that's why they're getting punished. And I'm glad they get punished. I like teams getting punished who take chances, end up letting their teammates down, their supporters down, and their fans down. And after the game, they're very blasé in the interviews. I'd be looking at players and I'm thinking they're like robots. They're like, oh, well, you know, we're a bit lucky, Bruno. No, find a way. Roll your sleeves up. They don't do that well enough, United. Brilliant interview. What a passionate man. Brilliant football knowledge, no doubt. Had a difficult start to this season, but they've regrouped. And then I think the message he was trying to get to the players about, he obviously said he was disappointed at half-time, but demands you put on yourself. I love that message. Yeah, you got to look at your manager and your staff, and Aston Villa, big club, but the demands you put on yourself, and players like Rodgers, you think you're doing all right, but he's thinking, I want more. And that's what Villa have to have over the next few months. Again, he used that word mentality 2 or 3 times, strong mentality. Dig in there, they wanted their very best today, but they've won the game, they've got momentum, they've got star people turn up at big moments. They've just got to keep it going. Now, that's the big question mark. Hopefully they can, because it's great for the Premier League when you've got Villa up there competing.
And the way that he comes across, and you can give us more insight into this, is that he puts those same demands that he has of the players on himself, and that he has that same level of intensity as a manager and as a coach. Yeah,
of course, and that's exactly the way Unai is. That is day in, day out. You see the interviews just given there, the passion he's got. He's like that every day. He puts massive demands on himself, which then filters down to the players. The players then demand off each other. And I think that's why they've been able to come out the other side of when they went through a little blip. You know, he would have got them in the training ground. They would have sat down, had meetings, talked about it. And he would have been saying that, you know, look where we were, look where we were before. OK, we're in a sticky patch, but you keep doing what it is I'm asking and demanding of you. We'll get out the other side and we'll come through this. And it's no, you know, coincidence that they've gone on a 10-game run now to show exactly that.